Welcome back, you beautiful fucks. It's me, Danny. We're done fucking around. Today's video is it. I am looking at the Monsterverse, pretty much all of it, and I'm giving my ranking, my personal ranking, okay? You may disagree. I may make you mad with some of these, but this is my opinion. And it could also change in the future. It might have been different back then, you know? Things are always changing. Opinions are always shifting, and you see things in new light after watching it or reading it again. I wish my voice would stop cracking, but anyway, we're looking at the Monsterverse. The only thing not included is gonna be obviously the kid graphic novels or the kid books. Like Kong and my friend Kong with Gia and Godzilla, Kong are friends, but sometimes they make up. Can't compare that. It's like comparing the Bible to, a Dr. Seuss book. It's two different leagues, okay? I think you know which one's the Bible. So, that's a terrible comparison. You know what I mean. Anyway, fuck that. Let's move on, okay? We're just going on right here. I'm going to go through and just read all the things that will be on this list. This is not in that order. As in not in the ranking order. This is what's on the list. So we have from the top, Godzilla Awakening, Godzilla 2014, Kong Skull Island, Birth of Kong, Godzilla Aftershock, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Godzilla Dominion, Kingdom Kong, Godzilla vs. Kong, Skull Island anime, Godzilla Fight or Flight, Monarch Legacy of Monsters, Godzilla X Kong The Hunted, and Godzilla X Kong The New Empire being the newest release. Again, that was not my ranking. That is what's on this list. So that way you know. Hopefully I'm not missing anything. If I am, let me know. I'm pretty sure that's everything. 14 items. 14 pieces of media. Okay, this is history right here, people. And here, starting from the bottom, obviously. No one starts from the top. Starting from the bottom, my least liked thing from the Monsterverse at number 14 is Godzilla Fight or Flight. If you don't know what this is, because I'm sure some of you probably don't, this is an exclusive story as attached to the Monsterverse Omnibus, which is a collection of all the Monsterverse graphic novels that have been released up to Godzilla, Dominion, and Kingdom Kong. I don't think The Hunted is included in there. So it was an additional story specific for people who kickstarted that, I think. And it is not bad, but it adds nothing to the Monsterverse. And in fact, I've seen some people online, and I agree with these people, this story was not worth picking out the omnibus for. It has no new monsters. It's pretty much you're watching events you've already seen and read about from different points of views. That's all it is. And it doesn't really add much to the whole universe or the character or the monsters and whatnot. So it's kind of a throwaway story. It's there if you really want to get into it, but it's completely unnecessary and can be removed and does nothing to the canon. So that's how I feel about it, and I know other people have felt the same way. Maybe you feel differently, and that's totally fine. Maybe this is your number one, the greatest thing that comes out of the Monsterverse. And that's totally fine, okay? No one's going to send a missile onto your house because you like this story. Me personally, though, it's at the bottom of my list. I don't really like it. Alright, number 13. Shocker, Skull Island, the anime series from Netflix. Now, you may be wondering, I did a review back then, and I didn't really mind it too bad. So you might be thinking, Danny, what happened? Well, over time, my views changed on this anime, and it's still not that bad. Really, it's not. However, when it comes to the whole Monsterverse in general, it really falls behind. And I'm going to go ahead and say what my number 12 spot is. Because, right, 14, 13, 12. And that is, because it's all going to tie into this. Number 12, above the Skull Island anime, we have Godzilla Awakening, which is the prequel to the 2014 Godzilla. Now, I'll get back to Skull Island in a minute, but I put Godzilla Awakening above it If you know anything about Godzilla Awakening, it has a lot of continuity errors. It had a few apparently back even when it came out, and it definitely has some now, and it's showing its age now that the MonsterVerse has continued. I still put it above Skull Island though, because it was created. Godzilla Awakening was created before the idea of the MonsterVerse was really thought up. Right? It was Godzilla Awakening was just there as a prequel novel for people who were really interested in the backstory and all this and that of Monarch and Dr. Serizawa. It was just there to set up that movie and potentially any other sequels that would follow. Sequels being Godzilla 2 and then Godzilla 3, because that was the idea back then. They would do 3 Godzilla movies. They weren't thinking of doing the whole Kong and then Godzilla vs. Kong and all that. And by the time they did think of that, Godzilla Awakening, that canon, that universe that was setting up, didn't really fit into where they were going with the new Monsterverse. But I can't really blame it for that, because obviously, again, they didn't know what they were doing back then. They didn't know they were going to do a Monsterverse back then. Skull Island, on the other hand, was created, literally, it came out last year. So the Monsterverse has already been established. And Skull Island, I look back, and maybe I said this in my review, I don't know, but it seems to try to not be attached to the Monsterverse. It seems to not want to be attached to the universe that it's attached to. There's only little nods to stuff from the Monsterverse, like Kong obviously being one of the main titans. Then there's a skull crawler that makes a cameo. They get the map to Skull Island from someone who's presumably from the Vietnam troops that went to Skull Island back during the movie. And there's possibly a reference to Godzilla in the show at one point when one of the guys looks down. He has a flashback of how he looked down into the ocean. He saw these blue flashing lights. Again, that might have been Godzilla. That might have been the Kraken. We don't know. But outside of that, this show creates so many new creatures, which isn't bad. But there's so many other creatures from the graphic novels of Skull Island and the movie Skull Island, Kong Skull Island, that they could have brought over into their anime to really show, like, hey, this is the same Skull Island. Like, remember this creature? Remember these creatures? We're gonna bring in some of the fauna from the graphic novel so you can see them animated for the first time. Like, that would have been really cool and really would have felt like, yeah, this takes place on Skull Island from Monsterverse. That doesn't happen. There's so much new stuff in there. It feels like it's missing so many aspects of the Monsterverse, such as like Monarch and familiar titans outside of Kong, that it doesn't feel like it wants to be attached to the Monsterverse, which is why it's so low on my list. Whereas Godzilla Awakening, despite all its continuity errors, I feel deserves to be above it because it needs to be cut some slack. So that's my long tangent on all of that. Okay, so that's why I have those set up. Anyway, let's just get past this now. So above Godzilla Awakening, I'm going to tell you what my 12th and 11th spot is. Actually, sorry, my 11th and 10th spot, because they're kind of interchangeable. You might be able to guess what they are, because I value them the same, which are number 11, Godzilla 2014, and then number 10 is Kong Skull Island. Again, I like them pretty much both equally. Godzilla 2014, like, as I'm looking at it right now, I'm kind of thinking, like, maybe I do like it more than Kong Skull Island. But then I also think about it, like, I feel like I enjoyed Kong Skull Island more when it first came out, more than how much I enjoyed the 2014 Godzilla when that first came out. So that's why I have it just one step above the 2014 Godzilla. But they're both great movies. They're both, I think Kong Skull Island has a bit more action and is more entertaining. But in terms of quality of filmmaking, I should say, I think 2014 Godzilla does kind of have a little bit more of a, I don't know, it's trying to tell, I don't know if I should even say this because there's a lot of good stuff in Kong Skull Island too, like the cinematography and stuff. So I don't know. I have them there, 11th and 10th place. They're about the same equally though, so they can be switched back and forth. But anyway, again, that's just my opinion. That's my view on it. Number 9, Godzilla Aftershock. Now this is the prequel to King of the Monsters. And here, Godzilla, you meet the Muto Prime. You find out how Godzilla's dorsal plates, how they changed. You also get introduced to the Orca, the machine that the Monarch people use to communicate with some Titans. And you also meet Dagon. Or you don't meet him, but, you find out about this other Godzilla specimen or species member. So it's a pretty cool story, and I like that it builds upon the Muto species along with the Godzilla species, and it has a nice little, a nice amount of action and story and world building and preparation for what's to come in the following movie, which would be King of the Monsters. So I liked it. Not the best graphic novel in all of the Monsterverse, but definitely still a pretty decent story. After that, we move up to number 8, which is Birth of Kong. This graphic novel, almost an anime, this graphic novel is really cool. It introduces you to more of the fauna that's on Skull Island, even more than what you see in the movie, and it gives you the backstory in the goofiest way possible. It gives you the backstory to Kong and how his parents died when he was young, and his species being on Skull Island, fighting all the skull crawlers. I'm not going to, just read the book. It's the goofiest way. I'm going to say it. This guy literally finds out about Kong's backstory because he drank some juice and starts having like an acid trip, and we're taking this guy's word for how he said he's having these visions of Kong at his birth. How do you have visions of someone else's life? That's insane. From juice, even more insane. But we take it as gospel. It's the Monsterverse. Anything could happen. Okay. We just saw Godzilla suplex King Kong off the pyramids in Egypt. Anything's possible. Shoot for the sky. But still a great story, Birth of Kong. Number 7, Kingdom Kong, the other graphic novel, which is a prequel to GVK. Now here you see what Kong was doing, kind of just chilling on his island, but he's getting so big. You find out about the storm. You meet Kamazotz, another Titan that was living supposedly near Skull Island. And it's a very, very cool story. I love the action between Kong and Kamazotz. My one nitpick is, again, Kong kind of has to have a human assist when it comes to killing a Titan, or beating a Titan at least, which I don't like. Maybe that's why it's a little bit lower than some other stuff, although it's not too low. It's like right in the middle of my list. But still a fun story, and I do enjoy it. Up next would be, where are we at? Number 6. Godzilla x Kong the Hunted. This story, I really like it. It adds a lot to the universe, which I love. I look for that with these graphic novels, and even the movies, but especially with these graphic novels. Just flesh out this universe, add more to it, explain some stuff, and it does that. You find out that the Apex Mechagodzilla technology, Monarch has some of it. Other people have some of it, and they're making these mechs, and you see one, and it gets sent to the Hollow Earth. Like, there's like private companies that are able to somehow get to the Hollow Earth as well, and you see what Kong's doing down there. You kind of catch up with Godzilla. That sets up the fight with Scylla in Rome. So it's a very nice story. I do enjoy it, and it's a fun read. And it has one of the greatest images in Monsterverse graphic novel history, maybe even in graphic novel history in general, but the worst scaling possible. You know which image I'm talking about. If you don't, look it up. But my God. But it's a good story, and I like what it shows, and I like what it adds to the universe. Up next, we're reaching the top 5 now, okay? Number 5, we have Godzilla vs. Kong. Just a fun movie, okay? Fun movie. Lots of great action. Adam Wingard's first time directing for the Monsterverse. I think he did a pretty good job, especially under the circumstances that he had, because there was a lot of reshoots, this and that. Not my favorite Monsterverse movie. I know some people really do see it as their favorite. Not mine personally. There's some things I feel hold it back, but There's a lot of good stuff in there, and it introduced Mechagodzilla to the Monsterverse, which I'm very happy about. I'm gonna take a sip of my Pepsi Zero here, not sponsored. Ugh, get a Diet Coke for all I care. They don't pay me. But yes, number 5, Godzilla vs. Kong. Number 4 is Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. Now, I know I said I really like this movie, so maybe some of you thought that would be higher. It's not. There's a few other things I like more, but I still really love The New Empire. I think it's a great movie. It's Adam Wingard's best so far with the Monsterverse, although he's only done 2 things, but still. I see it as a very big improvement over GVK. The action is great. The set pieces are really cool. The monster characters, the Titan characters are like now staples. Suko, Shimo, Scar King, they're all great. I really like them. Very colorful. The human characters, like I said, I didn't mind them. I thought they're pretty good. Bernie and Trapper were great. So it earned that spot high up there on the list. Although maybe to some of you it's not that high. For me, I consider it still, it's in the top 5. It's number 4. So I really like that movie, and I plan to watch it again soon. So yeah. All right, now we're hitting the top 3. What could they be? Number 3, Godzilla Dominion. I love that graphic novel. I forget what review I saw, but people were saying in The New Empire they liked that you kind of see the day in the life of Kong in the beginning of the movie, and that they would like to see that with Godzilla. And I feel like Godzilla Dominion, that graphic novel, shows you a day in the life, or just days in the life of Godzilla and what he's usually up to, where he goes, what he's thinking, the battles he's having, and what he does to help other Titans, what he does to control other Titans. Like, it's a very nice graphic novel. There's like no humans in it. It's strictly just narrative and telling Godzilla's story. It introduces some more Titans into the Monsterverse, such as Tiamat, and then I'm gonna butcher the name, Amaluk. I don't even want to pronounce it. You guys know what I'm talking about. The one that fought Behemoth and knocked his tusk off. You see Behemoth again too, which is great. There's awesome action. Tiamat in there is definitely a destroyer Titan. It's a force to be reckoned with. I don't know what happened to Tiamat in The New Empire there. He got one-shotted way too easily, and I told you that was one of the things I did not like to see, because Tiamat in Godzilla Dominion is a completely different beast and put up a really good fight. So I really like that graphic novel. If you have not read it, I really recommend it. It's a prequel to GVK, and it's really awesome. Anyway, yeah, so that's number 3. Number 2, Monarch Legacy of Monsters. This show is fantastic. And the reason why I put it so high up on my list is I have to give it credit because the humans were more interesting to me. That human story was more interesting to me than the Titans. I'll be honest, some of the Titans in that show did not really interest me all that much. However, the human story, the drama, their adventure, especially the flashback scenes of the startup of Monarch, that really got me and drew me in. The ending to that show had a lot of emotion, and it was very hard, just heartfelt and sad to see, but at the same time it felt right, which also left off on a really cool cliffhanger. I'm really hoping they do a second season. I think they will, because this had to be one of their biggest shows on Apple TV, and the Monsterverse seems to be pretty popular right now. So hopefully we get more of this, because it was amazing. I really love this, and all the actors and actresses in that show did a phenomenal job. So that's number 2, Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Number 1, who could have guessed? Godzilla King of the Monsters. Listen, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I saw this movie like 4 or 5 times in theaters, which for me is a lot. And I just, I can't even think right now and put into words how much I love that movie, especially when it first came out, how it made me feel. I thought it was one of the greatest. I thought it was the best movie that year, and that was the year Endgame came out, and I love Endgame, but I'm a Godzilla guy. King of the Monsters was my movie. That movie was amazing. And seeing Rodan, Mothra, and Ghidorah, plus the introduction to Scylla, Behemoth, Methuselah, and other Titans being out there was just like, oh. And it has some of my, like, people trash on the humans in that movie. I have to give credit to King of the Monsters because there are parts in that movie that are some of my favorite parts are just centered around the humans, specifically when they go follow Godzilla into the original Hollow Earth and they get into that ancient city. That part's so fascinating to me, and I really would just love like a series dedicated to them just exploring that, just exploring those ancient cities. I kind of miss that aesthetic too of that version of the Hollow Earth. Nothing against Adam Wingard's version, because from my understanding, now that he kind of took control of the Hollow Earth when he created Godzilla vs. Kong and now the New Empire, he's kind of really establishing what the Hollow Earth is. And I think the New Empire does a good job of adding some more life to it. But I used to remember watching it in theaters, King of the Monsters in theaters, and just looking at that scene where you see all these statues and buildings and the Anguirus Easter egg where that Anguirus skeleton's there and Godzilla, like that temple that he's sleeping in. It's like, oh my god, I want to see this. I want more of this, just exploring these ancient cities and showing us this old architecture, all these old like homes and stuff like that. Oh, it was so cool to me. And then the monster fights. I know there's a few times they like cut away this that, but when they don't, there's some really cool stuff there. They do Burning Godzilla. It's just great, really great. I love this movie. It's a fun time to rewatch, and I think I put it high up there too because there are like moments. One in particular comes to mind that is a human moment that slows down the film for me, and I kind of, when I look at the Monsterverse films, I consider that when how high I rank them on my favorite list, like how many human points are in this that slow it down. And when it comes to a lot of the Monsterverse, a lot of the movies, they'll have several points that I feel like they slow down a bit, at least for me. King of the Monsters, again, there's only like one part that I feel like I usually just want to skip through. Like, I don't care for this. Almost every other part I'm totally fine watching, and I usually am pretty invested. So that is my number one pick for the Monsterverse. So again, from the bottom to the top, at number 14, Godzilla Fighter Flight. Number 13, Skull Island, the anime. 12, Godzilla Awakening. 11 is Godzilla, the 2014 movie. Number 10, Kong Skull Island. Number 9, Godzilla Aftershock. Number 8, Birth of Kong. Number 7, Kingdom Kong. Number 9, Godzilla X Kong the Hunted. Number 5, Godzilla vs. Kong. Number 4, GXK, The New Empire. Number 3, Godzilla Dominion. Number 2, Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. And number 1, King of the Monsters. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my ranking for the Monsterverse. This was a much longer video than I thought it would be, so I hope you stay tuned. But I had to really think about it, just speaking my mind off the top of my head here. So maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, maybe you think this is the greatest list ever, maybe you think this list is terrible. Let me know. It's perfectly fine. But this is my opinion on the Monsterverse so far. It could change in the future. It could stay the same. Let's see. Whatever, Monsterverse, I have a really good feeling it's going to continue doing very well right now. And I'm totally open to a new film coming out and taking the number one spot. King of the Monsters has been holding it since 2019. So we'll see what Adam Wingard can do, or see whatever any other director can do. But yeah, I just really enjoy this universe and can't wait to see what it offers. So that's all for today's video, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all take care. I'm about to film an unboxing of 2 items I've been waiting a long time for, and I'm going to go do that right now. So I hope you all take care, and I'll see you all next time.